Madam Speaker, legislation very similar to this passed the House of Representatives unanimously earlier this year. This bill will continue the bipartisan tradition restarted by Chairman Schuster in 2014 of doing a Water Resources Development Act every 2 years. It's critical. I'm thankful to Ranking Member Graves, Chairwoman Grace Napolitano, and Subcommittee Ranking Member Bruce Westerman for the hand in developing the House version and helping us negotiate with the Senate. I'd also like to thank our Senate colleagues, Committee on Environment and Public Works Chairman John Barrasso, who has pushed very hard for this bill, and Ranking Member Tom Carper for their collaboration. This builds on the success of H.R. 7575, which, as I said, passed the House of Representatives earlier this year unanimously. It authorizes construction of 46 reports by the Chief of the Corps of Engineers. It's a record number of chief reports, almost matching the number authorized in 2016 and 18. Now, that will only be made possible by the full utilization of the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund. For decades, since Ronald Reagan was president, we have been assessing a tiny ad valorem tax on the value of goods in containers flowing through the ports coming into the United States of America. For many years, Congress, despite the pressing need to dredge our harbors to authorized depths, to repair jetties before they fail totally and become much more expensive to replace, for many years, Congress refused to spend that full amount of money. There's now around $10 billion collected in taxes from the American people for a specific purpose for which it has not been spent. I started working on this with Bud Schuster, not Bill, Bud Schuster, his dad, back in 1996 to access the full amount of the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund. I got out of committee twice under Chairman Schuster. He was quite amazed. It came out unanimously, including Freedom Caucus members and others. But Paul Ryan saw fit to strip it from the bill because he didn't think that we should maintain our harbors and our ports as a maritime nation. I guess being inland, he didn't think that was so important. So we now have finally gotten to that point where we're going to access the funds. There is one tiny remaining problem, since the Senate seems to be totally incapable of passing any individual pieces of legislation and doing nothing individually except judges. We are seeking to attach this to the omnibus, continuing resolution, budget deal, whatever the heck you want to call it. Now, the Appropriations Committee in the Senate has raised concerns, even though this does not count officially against allocations on an annual basis. They're worried that somehow someone might look at them and say, well, you've got all this other money, so we're going to cut back on your regular amount of money. That's not going to happen. This need is great. This is a huge bipartisan success and agreement by harbors all around the country, large and small, emerging, developed, energy ports. It's critical to the United States of America as a maritime nation that we get this done and we begin to do the work. On a daily basis of our 58 largest harbors, 35% are at their authorized depths. That means ships go around. It means ships have to pass too close to one another in order to navigate restricted channels. It means jetties that are beginning to fail don't get fixed. And every year that they fail, they become much, much more expensive to repair until the point of total failure, at which point it becomes incredibly expensive. Should we access the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund over the next 5 years at $2 billion a year plus the expected income, we could bring all of our ports up to a state of good repair in 5 years. What the Senate staff is insisting on would stretch that out for 20 years and it actually would stretch it out longer, because if you start doing things 18 years from now, they will have deteriorated even more. They're going to be more expensive. So they would indefinitely essentially put off bringing our harbors up to a state of good repair because of an unfounded concern. I'm hopeful that common sense will prevail if there is any such thing on the other side of Capitol Hill. But I just want to go back to thanking members of our committee and the staff who did a great work on this bill. It's an excellent bill. It also deals with inland waterways on a cost share basis. It deals with building in resilience to deal with climate change, even if you don't believe in it. And we'll use natural systems as much as possible, for these needs. Chairwoman Grace Napolitano, who did not travel here today, was dogged in her support for the maintenance needs and advocacy for her large harbors. And ultimately we came to agreement, as I said, between all sizes of harbors around the country. And I also want to thank my ranking member, Sam Graves. He couldn't have been a better partner in helping us deal with the other side of Capitol Hill. And Mr. Westerman for his steadfast support and input into the final bill. Today's success would not have been possible without their great work. There are a number of members of the committee who were particularly crucial: Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, Abby Finkenauer, Harley Ruda, Connor Lamb, Angie Craig, Chris Pappas, Antonio Delgado, Lizzie Fletcher, Greg Stanton, and Sharice Davids, all members of the committee who contributed significantly to this. It also, we did lose the language to reauthorize the state clean water revolving fund, which hasn't been reauthorized since 1987. I kind of thought it was time, but apparently that's right now not on the radar of some people. Madam Speaker, I would ask unanimous consent to enter into the congressional record a letter from Chair Grijalva of the House Committee on Natural Resources agreeing to waive consideration of S. 1811 as amended, as well as Chair DeFazio of my response to Chair Grijalva expressing appreciation for his willingness to work cooperatively in this legislation. I reserve the balance of my time.
So ordered.